whether they are cost effective, and the third is how to finance them. And I have been involving in different projects, global projects, and projects mainly focusing on the East African context over the past 7 to 8 years now. And I try to distill my experience and the knowledge around those in those slides, also benefiting from our past project experiences. So I want to start with the central challenge. So what are we talking about? I think when I work with the financial sector partners, clients, what I always hear is what is measured is what matters. But we know the measurement is not, it is not enough. And in the particular condition of the financial institutions, I always realize that they have a dual mandate. In one sense, the most important thing for many financial institutions is to make some kind of a return out of their investments. So they need to make money. But on the other hand, we are talking more and more about the role that the financial institutions play. There's also subgroup of impact investors are arising, and those kind of financial institutions would like to contribute to the transformative food system change. And let's be honest also, if we do not transform the food system, it's also risk in the long term for the financial institution. So there's also this desire, even in the most profit-seeking financial institutions, there's always this is a risk. If we don't change the food system, it will be a risk in the future for us. But then food system is complex. I think you all know it. This means that if you want to look at the impact of food system finance, you have to look at the different domains. You need to, first of all, as I said, you need to look at the financial performance of your portfolio, your investees, so that they can repay their loans. Your investment is not wasted. But also, if you look for the transformative finance, you need to look at environmental effects of an investment, the climate, whether they generate greenhouse gas emissions, whether they have any threat to the biodiversity or they contribute to the biodiversity. If you're really targeting the health, the general health and the food security, then the nutrition diets and the food security levels is something else you need to consider. And also, it's always important the social inclusion, because if you do not if you do not generate higher incomes for the beneficiaries of the food system, then the financial sector is always at risk. So you need to somehow combine these four things. But this is complex because there can be trade-offs between them. And this means that you need to monitor many more aspects than usually a financial institution would monitor. And then there's always this thing, and especially for the blended finance, where some kind of public investment goes into this financial investment processes. What would have happened if I haven't intervened? Whether this is really additional that I am doing this investment. Keeping these in mind, we can discuss three pillars of measuring and evaluating financial investment impact in food system. The first is the intentionality. We will there discuss the theory of change mainly. So a causal logic connecting what the investment is planning to do, what are the outcomes and impact of it. Additionality, what would have happened anyway? So if I didn't invest this money, if I have any kind of public investment in me, whether it would really help or not. And the last thing is applicability. Okay, I have all this monitoring impact data. I even test additionality. Okay, am I really using it for something in the operations? Because the executives will say, we are spending so much money on this monitoring. Are we using it for something in our decisions? Are we using it to improve our operations? And return on investment at the end of the day. And so if we a bit unpack these each item, if we start from the intentionality, so the theory of change, It is a results chain. It starts with the inputs of a financial mechanisms, like, I mean, whether you have the funding, you have the staff, you have the data and the partnerships and the knowledge that you can offer to some kind of investees in the food system or in another place. Whether you can turn these inputs to outputs, so whether you can organize training sessions or technical assistance to your beneficiaries, whether you could give the loan in practice, or you could make your equity investment. You could organize meetings with different people to so that your network is opened also for your investees. Whether you generate how much loans you give, how much equity investments you made, how many people, the beneficiaries you trained, your investees. Could you create, let's call it very simple, I mean, environmental, social, governance, practice awareness, at least, like you talk about it and or not. And on the outcome side, you start to think about whether there are really changes happening that will turn for financial institution return on investment or transformation at the same time in the food system. So whether the money that financial institution is lended, whether it is used for any kind of investment, really, in which investments, whether the business's performance, the investee, did it improve? There have been also new and better environmental and the social practices applied. Like, I mean, did they reduce their greenhouse gas emissions at the end of the day with by implementing those? Or did they offer better salaries? So then you come to the impact level, which is like, did really these investments generated employment, increased salaries? I mean, access to, for the general consumer public, access to affordable, nutritious food products, for instance, decreased greenhouse gas emissions and improved biodiversity. So suddenly you have a huge list of indicators that you may have to collect, and at the end of towards the end of the presentation I will mention a couple of them. But as you can imagine, the first three boxes, like inputs to the outputs, is a bit the implementation zone, and the investors can monitor those. But the results zone, it can be partially monitorable by an investor, by a financial institution, but may require some in-depth evaluation as well. But the key thing is that you need to, I mean, if you're a financial institution and if you care about impact, then you need to attach some indicators to the specific notes in the results change. Do not only track outputs, of course you track outputs, but you're also interested in the outcomes. And the best is to do this before the investment is made. This is the ideal situation, as Thomas said, okay? So we are just doing. And the additionality. Now, this is a fundamental problem. And if you're a financial institution only profit seeking, you may not be very much interested in it. But if you're using public money, this somehow comes to your sense because you can use this money for different areas. I mean, the question is, what would have happened in the absence of this investment? The money that's given. I mean, we have all these fancy methods, but let's start with the less fancy ones. For instance, you can do before and after comparison. I gave the money before that he was a small company. After that, it grew. But it could happen by many other cyclical things in the trends. It could happen. You can compare invested and not invested. But then you, as a financial institution, you selected the invested ones for a reason. So there's a selection bias there that those companies are bigger. You can get crazy, I call it, which I do sometimes in my research, but you randomly allocate the funding, okay, through a pool of investors. But if you talk this to a financier, an institution, a bank, they will say, no, 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 no. We only select the best ones where there will be a return on investment. So the situation here is very limited. There are some opportunities, but very, very limited. And the other is quasi-experimental. So you use some techniques, you create your counterfactual. Sometimes it might be possible, but then this requires data collection from several groups before, during, and after investments. So it is a challenging question, additionality. But then let's go to more theory. I mean, what do I mean with the additionality? Maybe you could just infer it by just thinking about the case. So in some cases, we call it concessionary investments. If you are a financial institution and you accept below market returns, you already, as a financial institution, provide some credit that other people wouldn't give. So it's almost by definition, it's additional. The other thing, if you are giving the let's say loan at a similar interest rate with the other players, then it can be the case that there is some imperfect information in the market. So the deal sizes can be small, institutions are not very flexible. You do not target, the other institutions do not target SMEs because they see it too risky. Then you can be additional if no other institution would do it by extending credit. And the last one, non-monetary ones. I mean, you can provide technical assistance, governance support, and again, you need to think about whether they wouldn't have received those kind of training or the contributions, non-monetary contributions from someone else. So you can also try to articulate it theoretically, your additionality. And the applicability. I mean, I say you have the results chain, you have the indicators, you have maybe you did the additionality, but then again, the question is, I measured all these things. How would it reflect to the management? I mean, in the measurement, it's always the answer that the question that you try to answer is, did we have impact? But from the management perspective, the question is different. How do we improve impact? Then one way of doing it, this is the discussion point always. You could look at the risks that your organization can experience. I collected with the help of the literature the 6 of them, like for instance, evidence risk. If you claim impact or sustainability, then you should show that you should have some kind of evidence on it. If you do not show it, and if you claim that you're an impact investor, then it could be a problem for you, a reputational problem for you. For instance, you need to learn about your investment environment. You need to have a design risks you have. What I mean is that if your loans are not picked up by the financial institution, so your output is zero, but you have all the inputs and activities, actually you have a design risk there. It could be dropout risk. Like some of the investees can drop out, can say that, no, I'm not taking anymore. I give it up your loan. I close my deal. This is not good. Or it could be efficiency risk. I mean, you spend so much, you put so much funding, you give so much money, but then someone else was generating those at a cheaper with less capital. So your actual capital, the way that you use your capital is as a financial institution is not good. And it could be that you couldn't do the activity. So there's an implementation failure. You can link your indicators with these management layers in a way so that when the management, the executives read your results, then they can say that, oh, okay, this is really addressing those issues for me. But this is an idea.
Just 5 more minutes.
Okay, 5 more minutes. So the data landscape, I will present them in 3. For those indicators, you can collect the data in 3 tiers. The first is investee reported M&E data. I think this is the first source. It's cheaper, direct. You have access to it. The second is the public and administrative data. You can use it for the benchmarking. It's free. They are available in FAO, in World Bank, Nation Statistics, World Bank Enterprise Surveys. But just be aware that there might be a time lag. Your investment is now, but the data is coming from behind, or it is usually very aggregate from a certain sector, or the sector level as to aggregate for your specific investment. And the last one is the primary data collection. Less reporting bias. You can conduct additional analysis, but this is costly to collect. and implementing it with the entire portfolio, like collecting data like the business, farmer, household surveys, focus group discussions, or in-depth interviews is not feasible. Just to summarize it in a nutshell, okay, like in an example. For instance, we have evaluated an SME fund. This was an ex post evaluation. I will not give the name. So it was operational targeting SMEs in an African country. They were doing the training and capacity building equity, and they were investing in equity loans, and it's a blended finance scheme. We did an ex post evaluation. We used the monitoring data and in-depth interviews. There were no baseline. And you can see in your screen what kind of indicators we were talking about. For inputs and activities, first we look at the size of the fund, training capacity availability. In outputs, we collect the data on the loans and equity was dispersed, whether the technical assistance were provided, number of employees participating in those trainings, some outcomes like the revenue, profitability growth, loan repayment rates, awareness on the ESG practices. On the impact side, we collected data on the salaries, like or whether there have been employment growth, whether the ESG activities are really implemented or not, and then we look at also the additionality. We didn't enter to the impact management side, and the additionality is collected like financial additionality, like something like whether, and also the catalytic effect. So one is about mobilizing further resources. The catalytic effect, financial additionality, is making available finance, making a financial tool that's not available to the specifically to the SMEs. And how the results look like, if I just put a couple of a bit rounded results, like for instance, in the inputs and activities, we found that a 10 plus million fund, US dollar fund was there, and $1 million of it was on technical assistance. Investees were already selected. There were 15 plus SMEs already received investment in terms of equity and loans. They received about 100,000 US dollar to $2.5 US dollar financing. 15 plus of those SMEs already received technical assistance, and average annual revenue growth for those was about 60%, and like the fast growing ones, like about 60% of the total portfolio. The impact, like there you see now the trade-offs are coming up. On, I would say small, like 10 to 20 jobs created in 5 years' time, some salary improvements, some waste management improvements. So we are entering to the environment, no greenhouse gas emission reductions. So you see the trade-offs are coming. And the thing is, when we investigated, we realized that because of the fund construction, the asset manager, which is distributing the credits, has a tendency to go for the safe bets where the returns on investments are high, okay? At least in some of the cases. And we also discovered that 25% of the fund SMEs could also receive from another institution the credit, and also this also gave us an idea. Like there were some the asset manager had the financial return on investment in his mind. Of course, that's normal, but that's why you have also the monitoring mechanism, or they call us and you do the evaluation. And the nice thing was it created some catalytic effect. I mean, for half of the SMEs, we saw that this investment by this fund created an opportunity to receive further finance from other banks. So to conclude, I hope I am in the last minute. I would say, I know it's ideal, I know it's difficult. Embed evaluation design at the start in the baseline before the investment. So you have an idea of what kind of evaluation you do in the ideal case. Leverage public and M&E data first, and conduct in-depth research, I think, for testing a new investment instrument or prove additionality mainly. And somehow find a way, maybe do the thing that I show, but another way, integrate evaluation outcomes to risk management. Then you also improve your position. And then tell your executives how important it is to track impact. So this is the end of my slide deck. Thanks for listening. I hope I didn't take a lot of time, Thomas and Brown.
No, you did absolutely great. Thank you. That was perfect. Thank you so much, Haki. And just a reminder, we're aware there was a lot of information on each of those slides. So if you were focusing on listening, don't worry, the slides will be available on Curator as well. Bram, I saw a few questions coming in through the chat. Would you like to highlight a few and ask people to quote them? Maybe we don't have time to go through all of them, but maybe we select a couple.
Yeah, if I can ask Helisus Akonefar, who's talking about how do we determine the indicators? Would you like to ask your question live, Haley? If you're able to unmute, otherwise I can also read it for you. Haley is asking, who determines the indicators for the topics such as climate change, gender, health, or any other sector? How are they developed and who determines which indicators are important?
Yeah, I can respond from what I heard from some of the financial sector organizations, but I think Daniela may say even more about this. I think the best is the financier and the investee sit together and they determine together those indicators. So this requires then a theory of change by the investee, and the financier should be also there. But so it is a joint effort.
Next question.
All right, thank you, Haki. Let me find the next one. I think it's a question that was asked also online for you. It's from Kakiriho Abe Fabrice, who's asking, many investors and development partners still prioritize easily measurable financial metrics, such as repayment rates, portfolio size, over systemic outcomes, such as nutrition, like you've mentioned, biodiversity and resilience. What practical approaches can help shift the mainstream investment decision-making toward these broader impact indicators?
I must say that this is the $1 million question. Let me be very blunt. Again, I think after me there you will hear, not all financial investors will care about the environment, nutrition, food security, or social outcomes, because in the end they are responsible to their own investors, their shareholders. What they will care about more is whether this creates, if it's not an investor which particularly care about the impact, okay, and we have one of those, and Triodos, I mean, where Daniel is from, is one of those type of investors. But then you should remind them about this creates risk for them, not caring about those things. So creating extra greenhouse gas emissions is now, under some context, is not something that shareholders are happy about. When they so you need to remind them about this is a risk. Not investing in those things is a risk, and that's why the impact management becomes also important from a financial sector perspective. But you will not be always able to convince.
Thank you, Haki. Maybe
just one more question, and then that's okay.
Links to another question that I see here. How do financial institutions decide which trade-offs are acceptable?
That is I think they collect all the information about all the, I mean, it's in the end, it is an expert communication as far as I heard from them. I'm not one of them. Maybe Daniela, you have an answer for that for me, but what I would say is that, I mean, they listen from the experts, they collect all the data, and they sit together and they consider whether this a risk for them. They weigh different things and then they decide on it. So there is not a golden rule. Let me say it, like we don't have these like risk return. As far as I know, there is no risk return ratio optimal levels like we have in the financial sector for this part of the things. But it could be a nice research topic, I think.
Definitely a
Thank
good
you.
research topic, but yeah, there is no recipe, right?
Yeah.
It depends on the impact thesis of the fund or like the investment organization or the banking organization as well. So
I remember there was some effort to make an index out of it for some financial organization, like a final indicator, but it is maybe one out of thousands of financial organizations.
yeah. So I think it really depends indeed of like it's part of the discussion between the company and or the SME or the organization and the investor. But it really depends from the investor point of view or like the one with the money, their impact thesis and where do they want to the vision that they have for this money.
Yeah.